So phase 2 of the slab platter with thrown foot or coil tooth thrown foot is to decorate the foot itself. I've let this dry about an hour and a half, maybe hour and 45 minutes. And the only thing I added off camera was this little ridge right here. I wish I would have caught it on camera. I just wasn't thinking. I looked at it and thought it would be a nice aesthetic. So I took a wet sponge, squeezed with my two fingers here, just that crease between the two fingers is what created that line. And the markings I have on top are simply a ruler taken like this all the way across. And these are just my guidelines. So I put it across and then I look to make sure. This is one of the many reasons I like to do that little spiral, but it tells me exactly where the middle of this piece is. The spiral I showed just a few minutes ago. But I take this, I make sure it's across the middle, and I make 6 lines. You can make 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use these as my guidelines. So I have a total of 3, 6, 8 lines. And I'm gonna go in between those, which will create 6 different smashings, if you will. You can even take, sometimes I take an X-Acto blade and cut these out. It takes off some weight. But I also sometimes am of the mind I don't want to waste clay. So I'm going to hold this wheel still so it doesn't spin on me. And in between these lines, I'm going to take a dowel. I've taken a large dowel sometimes, a small dowel. These are just closet dowels from Home Depot, which we also use for rolling pins. I've used little triangle shaped ones, and you'll see more what I mean when I show you. But you push them down and it creates a nice aesthetic on the foot. So I'm going to put this on. And I'm going to lean in. Make sure it's where I want it. And I used to get as overly detailed as putting a level on this, but I find that sometimes even my wheels aren't level to the floor. And I try to get this in a one-shot deal, so I don't have to put it back on there. So just a little bit more. Okay, and then I twist the dowel. If you have a triangle, it's a little bit easier. Sometimes I do this when it's soaking wet as well, and I'll just put paper towels down. Now I need to gauge and make sure I like what I'm doing. Push. Okay, now I'm going to look at it from a distance, make sure I want it somewhat farther down. Oops. Okay, twist and out. And my last one, going from line to line here. Somewhat equal. Again, it's handmade, so I'm not trying to be perfect, but I do want to get it as precise as I can. So a little bit more. Okay, and looking at it, it's cracking slightly, which I can clean up with a sponge. So I should have done it when it's a little bit more wet, but I'm okay with it. And now you can sort of see, I'll show you up close in just a second. I'm just going to double check, make sure everything's good, but you can see why I did that 2-finger thing. It smashes down nicely. Okay, everything looks pretty good. The once over. So at this point, I'm going to let it firm up even more and enter another decorative area. Sometimes I'll cut small triangles out in here. Even if I don't do this type of foot with the smashing, I might cut a triangle out and smash it down. And again, I use the ruler to get my little symmetric parts. But I will cut it out, press it down instead of doing this part. But I always do something pressed in, so that way I can glaze these parts. I can't glaze the foot that it's going to sit on, which is this outer edge here. And I'll get you a little more detailed in just a second, but one more last little detail that I'll do later is I'll probably cut some holes out right here. I have a little brass pipe or a straw, and I'll cut like one large one here and two small here, and try to make those as symmetric as possible. So I'll give you the view from the top at this point. So you can see the pattern I followed and what it looks like up close. Okay, so that's phase 2 of the decorating on the foot portion of the platter.